Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Friday, April the 14th, 2023. The big story this week has been the Bud Light saga. So as far as I understand it, Bud Light has had this disastrous marketing campaign which has led to a big fall in the share price of the company owning it, and also has led to people stopping drinking it. Apparently there's been a big fall in demand for Bud Light, and reason being is because there's been a marketing campaign which has associated the drink with some transgender star. And the usual drinkers of Bud Light don't like it. That kind of makes sense to me, but we do need to perhaps try to understand why this might have happened. And I'm going to do this by looking at the horoscope of the VP of Marketing at Bud Light, Alissa Heinerscheid. Now, I don't know to what extent she is responsible for the marketing campaign, but certainly a lot of people are trying to scapegoat her. So I think that by looking at her chart, we might get some insights. And I certainly think, if assuming I've got her birthday right, everyone on the internet says that she's born on March the 4th, 1984. So that would make her a Pisces. I can't be 100% sure that that is correct, but I'm going to go with that date. Yeah, by looking at her chart, we can really see that this is someone, who should not have been working for a drinks company. And I will show you why this is the case, because it's really quite interesting. Anyway, so let's look at her chart before we look at today's astrology, before I look at what's going on today and all that kind of stuff. So her chart, let's have a look. So she is a Pisces, as I've said. Now, we shouldn't get too hung up on the fact that she's a Pisces. In my opinion, in a woman's chart, the moon sign is more important than the sun sign. And you'll see that she's got the moon in Aries. This is someone who is quite dynamic, who likes to take action, who is, in some respects, I think, a doer rather than a thinker or a feeler, perhaps. So there's the moon in Aries. Now, that doesn't mean to say that the sun in Pisces is totally unimportant. She's got Mercury in Pisces, and as well as the sun. Now, we have heard that she is a very intelligent, well-qualified woman. She went to Harvard. She went to Wharton. Wharton is difficult to get into, and who else went to Wharton? Donald Trump went to Wharton. Yeah, it's a very prestigious organization. But that doesn't mean to say that this Sun-Mercury conjunction isn't a problem. Her Mercury is very poorly placed. It's in Pisces. Mercury doesn't work well in Pisces. Mercury is a planet connected with the brain, with cognitive stuff. It doesn't work well in Pisces, which is all about the water, the ocean, sensitivity, all that kind of stuff. Mercury gets confused. And then you put it next to the sun. It's burnt out. So you've got a burnt out, burnt out and also waterlogged Mercury. Don't quite know how that works, but it means that very often she gets confused, I think, when it comes to looking at business issues and what people might think, and she can get the wrong end of the stick and, I suppose, make disastrous miscalculations in certain situations. So that's a Mercury. Also, you'll notice Mercury is square Uranus. Now, Mercury square Uranus, that supports the moon in Aries. Mercury in Aries Mercury square Uranus, yes, a very quick mind, someone who quickly comes to conclusions. I think very quickly comes to conclusions. But I suspect conclusions that are sometimes based on erroneous information. And this leads into the problems she's had as VIP for marketing at Bud Light. Now, while all this is going on, she has a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Capricorn. Now, Jupiter and Neptune do not work well in Capricorn. Neither planet works well in Capricorn. Jupiter is supposed to be about the big vision, the expanding our horizons, yet it's in Capricorn. How does that work? Well, it's about someone who is really, I think, quite materialistic. These are her only planets in Earth signs, so there's a certain sense of compensation there. She might talk about big visions, but really she's thinking about her job and her career prospects, all that kind of stuff. Neptune, similar picture. Neptune is about transcendence, yet it's in Capricorn. Now, a whole generation of people, a lot of early millennials have their Neptune in Capricorn. And so this may be a problem for them. They're trying to transcend, but it's very difficult for them to get past all of the marketing, brand, whatever. It's sometimes it's like having to transcend through brands or trying to transcend through what you think people want. So it's kind of earthbound. It's kind of like trying to transcend with one of your feet stuck to the ground. That is hard work. Now, this Neptune, which I think is terribly important in her chart, in light of the fact that she works for a drinks company, that she works for Anheuser Buch InBev. I think that's the full name of the organization. Neptune is a natural ruler of alcohol as well as drugs, but it rules alcohol. So if you're going to work in a drinks company, you've got to make sure that your Neptune's in good shape. We already know it's not in particularly good shape simply by virtue of being in Capricorn, but okay, that's a whole generation, so you can't write a whole group of people born over a decade and more. But this Neptune is exactly semi-square Saturn. Now, I take semi-squares I take them very seriously in my astrology. Semi-square is an eighth of a circle. It's 45 degrees. If you remember if you've ever done trigonometry, geometry, 45-degree angles are important. And Jupiter, her Saturn and Neptune are 45 degrees apart. Saturn is about limitation. It's about frustration. It's about cramping people's style. And that Saturn is semi-square Neptune. In other words, Saturn is damaging Neptune. Saturn is damaging alcohol. It's like someone with this aspect is going to potentially cause problems for you if you are a drinks company. So this company, Anheuser, probably should not have employed her in such an important position with Saturn semi-square Neptune. This is not a good idea, and I think matters aren't helped by the fact that she has Venus square Saturn. Now, Venus is about other people. It's how you relate to other people. It's square Saturn. Maybe she didn't fully understand the clientele of Bud Light. Yeah, she saw a problem, that demand for Bud Light was slowly falling, but she addressed the issue in terms of perhaps her generation, her prejudices, there's the Sun conjunct Pluto. She had a view of the world which had probably worked very well for her in the past, and she imposed that view of the world on the clientele of Bud Light. And as a result, there was a disaster. Now, of course, I don't know to what extent Alissa Heinerscheid was involved in the marketing campaign. Everyone says that she had a major role. And so, yeah, this was all a bit of a disaster. As far as timing is concerned, Uranus, while all this was going on, was at 16 Taurus. So Uranus was opposition her Saturn, semi-square her Neptune. It was Uranus was here causing all these problems. At the same time, Saturn, a few weeks ago, last month, Saturn went into Pisces. So Saturn went into the sign of her Sun and her Mercury, and it seems that the moment Saturn went into Pisces, the problem started. So I think in terms of her chart, I think we can get some idea of what was going on, and I think it would have been better if we'd actually had her time of birth and not just her day of birth. But I do think that this Saturn semi-square Neptune is just really good in terms of symbolizing what the problem was. She's just someone who just naturally is just bad for alcohol companies, and maybe she'll soon have another job not connected with alcohol, and she'll be just fine, and she'll make the right decisions, and she'll make her employer very happy. But not here. This was wrong for her, Bud Light. I really don't think she was in the right place. So, having done that, I'm going to look at today's stars for Friday. Main theme, we got Moon in Aquarius. So today many of us are going to be feeling quite independent-minded. We're going to be wanting to do our own thing, and we're not going to want to listen to other people's advice, views, and so on. This could cause problems because you will see that the Moon is making a square to Mercury. It's almost starting to making a square to Uranus. So if we're too independent, if we're too inflexible, we could cause problems. So a bit of flexibility would be no bad thing. At the same time, Venus, there's Venus for Gemini, is making a square to Saturn for Pisces. This is Venus square Saturn. That's the aspect that Alissa Heinerscheid has in her chart. So as far as what it means for us, Venus square Saturn is probably not great for relationships. Relationships, it may feel that there's something just stuck. It may be difficult to express ourselves. We may feel that other people just aren't supportive. Or it's also possible, Venus is in Gemini. Venus is a very light planet when it's in Gemini. It wants to have fun. It wants to have flexibility. It has a sense of humor. And there's Saturn. Saturn is about these cold and stuck emotions. Yeah, Saturn in Pisces is emotional, but not in a nice way. And we might find, in terms of relationships, that we get put off by other people's brooding emotionality, and they just spoil the fun. So when dealing with other people, don't expect too much. On the other hand, don't spoil the fun for other people. If you're that Saturn in Pisces, if you're brooding, if you're getting worked up about your own feelings, that's fine, but don't impose it on other people. Now, as far as the 12 signs are concerned, I'm very quickly going to go through this. I do this, I just do one sentence per sign because I don't want to be boring for the signs that I'm not talking about. So, Aries, 4 stars. Friends bring excitement and perhaps chaos. Taurus, 1 star. You're hemmed in on all sides. Now, but I think the reason I say that is because Venus rules Taurus and it's square Saturn. So I'm thinking that, you're going to feel a bit hemmed in if you're a Taurus. Gemini, 2 stars. Queen Victoria was a Gemini. And Like her, you're not amused. Cancer, 3 stars. Just because it's complicated doesn't mean it should be avoided. Leo, 3 stars. Partners challenge your career goals. Virgo, 2 stars. If possible, wear some shin protectors. I mean, that's a bit frivolous, I suppose, but Virgo, there's the moon, it's in Aquarius, it's in the 6th house from Virgo, and in astrology, Aquarius rules the shins. It's that area between the knee and the ankle, and really in general, if you're a Virgo, perhaps this isn't part of the body you need to be particularly careful about. Libra, 3 stars. Creativity can be troubling. Scorpio, 2 stars. You and someone else don't agree. Sagittarius, 2 stars. The words don't flow. Capricorn, 3 stars. Bills and statements must be read with a calm mind. Aquarius, 2 stars. Today, you're surprisingly sensitive. Pisces, 3 stars. If in doubt, don't say it. Okay, so that's me done with astrology, and I'm now just going to quickly look at the I Ching. So the first hexagram I got on the surface seemed good. Hexagram 16, enthusiasm, but it moved. And these hexagrams, they have 6 lines, and 2 lines were moving. And the first line moved, and that is the kind of enthusiasm where we might be tempted to boast. You know, we're so excited we want to name drop. We want to tell the world how wonderful we are, that we've got these wonderful contacts and so on. But it's not going to work. We're not going to be impressive. Our enthusiasm could hit a brick wall. And I suppose that links to what I said perhaps about Venus square Saturn. Yeah, we might be very enthusiastic, but we might also find that other people are not receptive to our enthusiasm, particularly if we're being jerks and we just name drop and talk about all the people we have, people we know. So yeah, be careful for that on that score. Then the last line moves. And again, that's not very good. And our enthusiasm, yes, we're going to be enthusiastic, but I don't think we're going to get anywhere with our enthusiasm. We're going to be disappointed. And then that moves to this hexagram called biting through. Now, biting through is about justice, which is why I've chosen this picture here. It's about the law courts. I think this is the Old Bailey in the early 19th century. We have to administer justice. We have to administer justice on ourselves, first of all. We have to make sure that our own house is in order. If we've done something wrong in the past, if we're disorganized, we must be really tough. We must come down on ourselves like a ton of bricks. And we certainly should be dealing with ourselves before we deal with other people. You know, as the Bible says, you know, don't comment about, don't accuse someone of having a splinter in their eye when we haven't removed a plank from our own eye. So we've got to sort ourselves out. But it's also about other people. I think we may find that some people around us have been behaving badly, have been stupid, and we have to administer justice. Now, I don't mean doing anything draconian. I'm talking about telling them what they've done wrong. Perhaps making the decision we don't want them in our life anymore. So we've got to be tough. Hence, it's why it's called biting through. We have to bite through something which is not pleasant. We don't want to bite through it. It tastes disgusting, but it's something that has got to be done. Because if we don't do it, the problem will just get worse. So I'm afraid the I Ching overall not very positive, but it is telling us that there is something that we need to do. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say for today, and I will see you tomorrow.